January 8th, 2024, excuse me. Yeah, correct date, January 8th, 2025. This is an initial appearance calendar that begins at 2 p.m. These are cases in which individuals were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Upon being arrested, their cases have now been formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General of Fulton County. If you're a defendant recently arrested and so accused, please keep in mind that you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. Although this is a virtual proceeding, it is still considered open court, which is not only being recorded, but live streamed. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Good afternoon, Ms. Bridgewater. And
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
What's
Your
on?
reset date is going to be January the 21st.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Today, when I address each of the defendant's cases, I will let you know what is your new case number, what are the charges that have been brought against you, to appoint counsel to represent you if necessary, and also to set a bond. Some of you may qualify for what we call a signature bond, in which case you won't have to pay today, but you will have to comply with certain conditions in order to maintain your signature bond. Otherwise, you may qualify for what we call a surety or good bond, in which you would have to pay for the bond either out of your own pocket or through a bonding company. Conditions may also still apply. In the event that you receive a bond which will require you to remain at Fulton County Jail, then you will receive a new court date of January 21st, 2025 at 9 a.m. For those of you who plan to attend that court, make sure that you get a Zoom link because there will also be a virtual proceeding. Courtroom 2, who do we have? Oh, as a note, if you are a criminal defense attorney or a prosecutor or a courthouse staff, please keep your video on. If you are a victim, a family member, or someone here in support or against a defendant, please keep your Zoom screen on mute and switch your video off. You can turn your video on and unmute when you see the particular defendant whom you want to address. Okay, switch your video off. Thank you. All right, quorum 2, who do we have, please?
Good afternoon. We'll start with position number 4, Ms. Castleberry.
All right. And Ms. Mokeke, good afternoon. Are you prosecuting this case?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
What's the situation with the cross defendant, Jonetta Johnson?
I think she'll be on tomorrow's SCA calendar.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we are addressing Ms. I think it's Wednesday, Castleberry, accused of battery family violence from January 7th, 2025 under accusation 25 CR 143J. Ms. Castleberry, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney will be Mr. McLean. And any priors, Mr. Howard?
406, theft by receiving disorderly conduct. That's all.
Thank you. Ms. Mokeke, any objection to a signature bond?
No objection to a signature bond, Your Honor.
All right.
No objection.
All right. Thank you, Ms. McLean. This is going to be a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. Ms. Castleberry will sign up for her bond. She won't have to pay today, but if she fails to report once a month to pretrial, if she doesn't comply with the conditions, and if she gets arrested again, her signature bond will be surrendered. No further contact with Jonetta Johnson. She may return to 984 McKay Drive, and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. She will have to attend and complete 2 anger awareness classes with pretrial services. Thank you.
Your Honor, in the return to the place, was that for the purpose of getting belongings with law enforcement, or?
I understand she lives there. She's the stepmom, right?
That's my understanding, Your Honor, and it seemed like the victim was in the process of leaving the location.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So Miss Johnson will be given a stay away and a one-time visit to retrieve her belongings.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, John.
All right, next we'll go with position number one, Mr. Benjamin.
This is State versus Dwayne Benjamin, accused of battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third degree from January 28th, 2024. Mr. Benjamin, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
23, on probation, Douglas County. Possession of a firearm during the commission. Possession of a controlled substance, sale of marijuana. You got an open case out of Fairburn, suspended license, couple of FTAs from 2022, 2018 simple battery conviction, 2018 simple battery DV, carrying a weapon without a valid license conviction. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. McCarthy, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor, the state's recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond, no further violent contact with Jasmine Collins on the condition that he undergo an FBIP, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. Ms. Collins told officers that the parties were going through a breakup and having an argument when the defendant got upset and began punching her in the face, causing a cut to her eye. This assault occurred in front of their children, one of which was a minor with the initials IB. Our office has spoken with the victim in this case, who says that it was just a bad argument. She states that she wants contact with the defendant, and I believe she is on the Zoom, so I would ask the court to sound for her.
All right. I've got to write her name down. And what's her name?
Jasmine Collins.
Jasmine Collins. All right. Ms. Collins, if you want to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Please
I
raise
am.
your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I understand this occurred just under a year ago. What would you like to tell me?
First, I want to say thank you for your time. I never imagined for this to get here. The report isn't accurate. I involved my mom. I called her crying, and it just got out of hand. He is a very, very important person to me and our kids. He supports me. Ever since then, our relationship has been better than ever. We were at a bad place. We were arguing and we weren't understanding each other. And I believe we just needed some space. I only called the cops so they could make him leave, but when I called him, he left.
Make him. Okay.
Only because we were arguing, we weren't getting anywhere. And I knew that if I called the police that he would leave, and I didn't want to argue anymore. And I didn't want the kids to hear us arguing. So I called them when they came.
Police officer noticed an injury under your left eye.
He asked me, was that present? And it looked old. And I told him yes. And got the misconstruction from my mom, because when I called her, I did tell her that we were arguing. And of course, since she's my mom, she called the police too. The police didn't even come to here. They came to my mom's house. I went to my mom's house after. And the space is what we really needed.
How many children do you share with him?
We share two, however, 5 and 3. However, my 15-year-old only knows him. He's been in our lives since 2015.
So which child is his? The 15, the 5, or the 3?
5 and the 3.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McLean, you represent Mr. Benjamin?
This is my client, Your Honor.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Shataya? Is it
Yes.
Shataya?
Chataya, you pronounced it correctly, yes.
All right, Mr. Shataya, the bond is going to be as follows. On the battery family violence, it's going to be $2,500. On the cruelty, it's going to be $1,500. That's a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. Within 45 days of being released, Mr. Benjamin is going to enroll in a qualified domestic violence intervention program. This is a program with 26 weeks of classes, and he'll be required to attend and complete each class without skipping or missing any of them, and present a certificate of completion to his pretrial officer. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and firearms. He's not allowed to own any firearms or have any weapons in his possession. Within 60 days of being released, he will file a legitimation action to legitimate the 2 children that he has with the victim, Ms. Collins. He's to have no further violent contact with Ms. Collins. No physical altercations and no verbal altercations that will result the police being involved. I don't know if Mr. Benjamin has any holds, but once he's released, he's required to report to pretrial once a month, show proof of legitimation, filing of the legitimation action within 60 days, and enrollment in the DVIP program within 45 days. Next court date will be set to his current address. Make sure that you maintain a current residential address with the clerk's office. Thank you.
We can go to South Annex, Your Honor.
All right, sir. South Annex, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. And well, I hope you're staying warm. It looks like you're going to get the first blast on Thursday. But in the meantime, who do we have?
We have Mr. Wilson.
Okay, thank you. This is Corey Wilson, accused of 2 counts of reckless conduct and public drunk from January 7th, 2025. Mr. Wilson, your case number is 25CR153G. You have a right to remain silent about the facts or circumstances of your new case. Anything that you choose to say during this virtual proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, Mr. Alex Shatai will be representing you. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
13, 2020 FTA, 2020 suspended license NOLO, 08 death by taking conviction.
All right, thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from yesterday, the 7th of January. Police were called to the Amoco station or Amico station at 1683 Lakewood Avenue Southwest. The 911 call was made by an employee of the location who reported that they were afraid for the customers inside and concerned someone was going to be injured. On scene, police, the 911 call also said there was someone present being belligerent and threatening, and they had 2 firearms. So police understandably arrived prepared to deal with that situation. On scene, they identified the defendant based on his description and the fact that he was seen tossing his AR-style assault rifle into the grass in the area next to the building recklessly. He was obviously intoxicated. Police detained him while they went inside and spoke to the employee inside. I actually spoke to him today. His name is Zainuddin Mohammed. He was the 911 caller. He reports that the defendant is someone he thinks lives in the nearby neighborhood. He's seen him before, but on this incident date yesterday, he was obviously intoxicated and irate. He had come into the location at about 11:30 in the morning and then returned again around 1. There were multiple customers inside, and the defendant was actively drinking alcohol while in possession of 2 guns, one a large AR-style assault rifle that were out and brandished. He was making threats to the people inside. The clerk said he made the call because he was worried something was going to happen. He specifically said that he didn't feel in danger because he was behind a partition and felt safe, or that he would be protected if something happened. But he stayed on scene and spoke with the police, and he spoke with me today. Your Honor, we're asking for a $10,000 cash bond, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, to stay away from that location and have no contact with the staff there whatsoever. We'd also request a social worker visit. This is not only reckless behavior, but multiple people were put in danger by the behavior of this gentleman yesterday. And I would honestly say the victim or the individual who called the 911 and called police to make this report came from the best place and was concerned about this gentleman.
Mr. Shatai?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Wilson is 48 years old. He is a lifelong resident of Atlanta. He has worked at a car wash for the past 1.5 years. He made it to the 11th grade, but then completed his GED. And most importantly, he has 13 children, and he is the main provider for 5 of them. And with that, Your Honor, we ask for either pre-trial release or the lowest available bond for this case.
On each count of reckless conduct, that's going to be $1,500, and on the public drunk is $500. His total bond is going to be $3,500. It is a surety bond. He's to stay 200 yards away from the Amoco gas station at Lakewood Avenue in Southwest Atlanta. Have no contact with Mr. Muhammad and all other employees at that particular Amoco gas station. No illegal drugs, no alcoholic beverages, and he's to surrender and surrender all firearms to the local police precinct and to have them destroyed. He's not allowed to own, possess, or have any firearms in his possession or within his reach. Next court date will be January 21st.
Excuse me. Can I say something? Ma'am?
Yes, Mr. Wilson, I've already advised you of your right to remain silent. If you choose to say something about your case, your statements can and will be used against you, and your attorney will be very upset with you.
Just want to say that I had the bond, like I had got a bond when I came in there, it was 3,000 or 3,000. I couldn't pay that. I was wondering, could I get a signature bond? And I just follow all the rules.
Well, sir, these are charges involving firearms, and I do not grant signature bonds on firearm charges. And you've got 13 arrest cycles, and these allegations are quite concerning. So,
I ain't been arrested 13 times. A lot of other times folks were using my name and got that straight at my last court hearing. I probably been locked up like 3 times out of my life.
all right.
A lot of them ain't known to me.
I understand, sir. The prosecution was asking for a $10,000 bond. I've reduced it to $3,500.
Oh yeah, because it was 6,000. Well, I guess
Okay, so that's where it stands.
I
The
can't get
next court date will be January 21st.
so it's 3,500.
3,500. That would be correct.
So I go to the bonding company is what, like 300?
Bonding companies charge between 10 to 20%, so it's up to each company.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
All right.
Please remember to stay away and to surrender all firearms. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, next, South Annex, did you have another case?
No, ma'am, I do not.
All right, stay warm. Thank you so much.
Thank
Courtroom 2, who do we have?
Position number 2, Mr. Black.
This is Justin Aaron Black, accused of 2 counts of cruelty to animals under case 25 CR 142D. Mr. Black, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean? Mr. Shatai? Okay.
Yes.
Just as to clarify, who's the prosecutor, Ms. Mokeke?
Yes, Your Honor.
So these are 2 charges, one stemming from August 21st, 2024, and one stemming from December 13, 2024. Are any of these incidents a duplicate of any other case?
No, the December case involved him striking a French bulldog. The August 21st incident involved him kicking his dog on the balcony.
All right, it's just that the alleged incident on a balcony sounds very similar. So you're absolutely certain this is not a duplicate case?
I don't think it is, Your Honor, but I can look more into it. The December 13th incident was caught on video.
Yeah.
But let me take a look. The state's recommendation either way was for a signature bond, Your Honor.
Okay. So is it Mr. Shatai? I do not know if one of these charges is a duplicate, or maybe I'm just been listening to many cases with similar fact pattern. But on each count is going to be a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. This is going to be a $7,000 signature bond through pretrial services. He will report to pretrial twice a month. He is not allowed to own, possess, or have any pets of any kind in his home or in his possession. Any pets that he currently owns must be surrendered to Fulton County Animal Control Services. Within 60 days of being released, he will attend and complete a BARC program, B-A-R-C, and he can consult with the local Fulton County Animal Control officers as to a qualified BARC program to enroll and complete it and present the certificate of completion to his pretrial officer. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Thank you.
And these do look like two separate cases, Your Honor.
Okay,
It involved two separate animals in two different circumstances.
no pets and enroll in the program and report to pretrial twice a month. Thank you.
Next, we'll go with position number 3, Mr. Butcher.
All right, Ms. Caetana Ruiz, if you want to address the case, please unmute and start your video. This is Lois Butcher, case number 25CR149Y. Mr. Butcher is accused of 5 misdemeanor offenses ranging from January 5th, 2025 through January 8th, 2025. 3 counts, 2 counts of battery family violence and 1 count of simple battery family violence from January 5th, 1 count of simple battery family violence from January 6th, and 1 count of battery family violence from January 8th of this year. Mr. Butcher, you've been advised to be a right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
6. 2021 escape, fleeing and eluding false identification to law enforcement conviction. 2018 false ID conviction. And a 2014 hindering apprehension of prosecution conviction. This is out of state.
All right. Ms. McKechnie, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. And just to clarify, the January 8th incident, that should have been January 5th.
Oh.
So these incidents happened on January 5th and January 6th. The
Okay.
victim in this case is Katana Ruiz, who shares a child with the defendant. Officers arrived at the incident location on January 6th. That incident location is 3198 Washington Road, apartment 9 in East Point. They met with the victim, who they observed had bruising to her eye. She had a laceration above her lip and a scratch on her chest. The victim was also soaking wet at the time. The victim told officers that the day before, on January 5th, the defendant had struck her in the face and placed her in a chokehold, effectively strangling her. The following day, the victim approached the defendant to talk about the status of their relationship, which angered the defendant, and he proceeded to pour water on the victim, and he also poured water on her computer. Officers did note water was on the floor throughout the apartment when they arrived there on the 6th. When officers arrived, the defendant had already fled the scene, and so no arrests were made. Officers were dispatched to the location a second time on January 6th in reference to a fight. The victim told officers that she was on the phone when the defendant snatched the phone so forcefully out of her hand that it caused her acrylic nail to tear off. Officers did observe the torn nail, which was bleeding at the time, and the defendant was placed under arrest as he had returned back to the location. Our office has had a chance to speak with Ms. Ruiz, who states that this incident is not the first time the defendant has hit her, and it's not the first time the defendant has choked her. She states that if she had to guess, he has choked her about 10 times since they have been together in April of 2023. The last time he choked her, she was about 8 months pregnant with her now 10-month-old child that she shares with the defendant. The victim states she's in fear for her life, and she thinks that if the defendant is released, he will flee to their home state of Pennsylvania. The victim did send our office photos of her current injuries, as well as injuries from previous assaults from the defendant, and there are visible bruises and scratches on multiple parts of her body. The state's recommendation, given the severity of these allegations and our concern for the safety of this victim, is a $10,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, stay away from the incident location, that he undergo an FVIP, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for Ms. Kitana Ruiz.
Ms. Ruiz, did you want to address the court? You need to unmute and start your video.
For some reason, oh, I can't start my video. I'm sorry, it was giving me a hard time starting it.
Please raise your right hand.
Mhm.
Other right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the statements you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Do you still occupy the Washington Road apartment?
I do not.
Right, so you vacated the premises? All right, and how many children do you share with the defendant?
One.
Okay. And has Mr. Butcher legitimated the child?
Yes.
When was it legitimated? When was
Where was it legitimated?
yeah, which court? Where did he file the case? Do you
Oh.
know what I mean by legitimate?
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
I'm asking you, do you know what I mean by
No.
legitimate? Okay. If a child is born out of wedlock, then Mr. Butcher would need to file a court action in the Superior Court to legitimate the child. Merely putting his name on the birth certificate does not legitimate the child. And as long as the legitimation action is not filed, he has no rights to see or visit or have any custodial rights over the child. So, has he filed a legitimation action?
No, we did not have our child in Georgia.
Okay, but you live in Georgia.
I moved back to PA.
Oh.
Left. Yes.
In that case, then that's a separate issue then. Okay. Anything else you want to tell me?
No.
Okay. Mr. McLean?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Butcher is 29 years old. He has 3 minor children, including he has a 7-year-old who is in school, 5-year-old who is in pre-K, and he does provide support. He has a nice high school education. We've heard about the arrest record. He works, Your Honor, at Amazon full-time. He's done so for a month. He's worked at a retail store before that for some time, and he worked for several years at a warehouse at which he drove the forklift. And because that was in Pennsylvania, I believe that would have been, they have different certification up there. I usually mention forklift certification, but it's a little different, but he is a skilled forklift operator.
Okay.
Your Honor, his income won't be that high right now. Of course, he's in custody and is cut off for now. He really can't afford more than about a $1,500 surety bond, Your Honor. So we would ask the court to set a signature bond, and if the court is not inclined to set a signature bond, we would ask the court to consider no more than a $1,500 surety. Thank you.
Huh? On count 1, battery family violence, is going to be a $2,000 surety bond. On count 2, simple battery family violence, is going to be a $1,000 surety bond. Count 3 is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 2. Count 4, simple battery, is a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 2. And count 5 is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 2. This is going to be a split bond. So it's going to be a $8,000 split bond, out of which Mr. Butcher would have to post bond for $3,000, and the remaining $5,000 would be a signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. No further contact with Ms. Caetana Ruiz. He may return to the Washington Road apartment since the victim has vacated the premises. No further contact with Ms. Ruiz and any children that he shares with her, unless he files the appropriate action to get joint custody or visitation, whether it's in Georgia or whether it's in Pennsylvania. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Once he posts bond, and within 45 days of being released, he must enroll in a qualified domestic violence intervention program. This is a 26-week class program where he'll need to attend each class without missing or skipping any classes. As I said, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And he will continue to report to pretrial until his trial date. Thank you. Oh, and his next court date is January 21st.
Next, we'll go with position number 5, Mr. Cruz.
Okay.
The audio is very muted.
Oh, I haven't said anything, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I was just trying to see. Okay. Moving on, we have Mr. Chaz Cruz, C-R-U-S-E, case number 25CR144F, accused of battery, family violence involving one Faye Guerra from January 7th, 2025. Mr. Cruz, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Shatai. And any priors, Mr. Howard?
6. 2021 probation. All I saw was drugs. I didn't see any violent conviction.
All right, thank you. Ms. McCakey?
Yes, Your Honor. Officers were flagged down by AMR paramedics stating that they saw a male throwing a female around inside of a gray Ford Bronco. Officers eventually made contact with the defendant in his vehicle. They observed that he had a fresh scratch on his forehead. When officers asked him what happened, he stated that nothing happened. Officers then made contact with Take 5 employees who stated that the defendant pulled into their parking lot extremely fast, moving towards a female who was walking away from him. The defendant exited the vehicle and aggressively ran towards the female. The defendant then eventually admitted to officers that he and his girlfriend, the victim, Faye Guerrera, were arguing in the car. She was trying to leave. He kept pulling on her clothing, and eventually she fell out of the vehicle. Officers made contact with the victim at a nearby Zaxby's, where they observed she had red marks on the side of her face and chest, as well as a scratch on her chest. Ms. Guerrero told officers that the parties were arguing, and due to previous incidents, she got scared and didn't want things to escalate further, so she tried to leave the vehicle, but the defendant wouldn't let her and kept grabbing her arm and pulling her back continuously. Eventually, she hit her head on the frame of the door and was able to exit, where she fled into a Zaxby's. Given the defendant's history, the state is okay with a signature bond at this time, and no further contact with the victim. Stay away from the victim's residence, wherever that may be. The victim indicated the parties used to live together, but she has since moved out about 2 months ago. He undergo an FVIP, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. If the court is not inclined to do an FVIP, we would ask that he at least undergo some anger awareness. And I would ask the court to sound for Ms. Faye Guerrera.
Don't see anyone by that name. Faye Guerrero? All right. Mr. Shatai, it's going to be a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial services.
Sorry, Your Honor, it's going to be me.
Oh, sorry, Ms. McLean, it's going to be a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1, to enroll in a DVIP program within 45 days of being released, and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no contact with Faye Guerrero.
Your Honor, he had probably expected her to show up on Zoom and that it would be a no further violent contact, but I did explain no contact was a possibility of certain that he did or did not.
I will sound out for her, Faye Guerrero. Nobody's responding. All right. Mr. Cruz, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of the case, your statements can and will be used against you.
Yes, Your Honor. I just wanted to say I help her take care of her daughter because her daughter lives in my district of going to school.
Mr. Cruz, that's very nice, but she's not here. So your kindly conduct is not allowed anymore.
That's what I was going to ask. How would I tell her that since she's not on here?
You don't tell her anything. You don't speak to her. You don't communicate with her. You don't live with her.
So if she brings her daughter to my house during school, what do I do about? That's what I was.
Close the door, lock the door, and don't say anything.
Okay.
Because if you attempt to communicate with her or have any contact with her and the police get involved, she won't be going back to jail. You will.
Yes,
And your 3,500 signature bond will be surrendered and converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond. So you decide whether $3,500 is worth having contact with her.
Not at all. I was just making sure because she wasn't here. I didn't know what to tell her or.
You have absolutely no obligation to tell her. Is that your child?
No.
Then it's her responsibility.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we got position number 6, Mr. Davis.
Derek Davis is accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer from January 7th of this year, case number 25 CR 145H. Mr. Davis, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and Mr. McLean is your counsel. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
16 on probation, sale of marijuana, possession of a knife or a firearm during the commission out of Gwinnett County. 24 FTA. You got 3 probation violations between 2017 and 18. 2018 theft of identity of another without consent. Criminal possession of a forged instrument conviction. 09 criminal street gang activity conviction.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant is accused of attempting to kick the door of the property that belongs to Davy Collin, located at 451 Mary Street Southwest in Atlanta. He's also accused of using a hammer to break the bolt lock of the door. The incident was witnessed by a neighbor, Miss Jackson. When officers approached the defendant, he jumped over a fence and attempted to flee on foot. Due to that recent FTA, the state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond. There is a concern that the defendant will not show up to court and will also commit another crime while out. Stay away from the incident location. No further contact with Davy Collin. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client is 40 years old. He does support his 8-year-old child, who is a third grader now. He is working on a bachelor's in history off and on, and he has a high school education and trying to further it. He is aware of his arrest history. However, Your Honor, he is a full-time electrician. He's a member of IATSE, which is an organization which has the work listings. He's also W, and that's a similar situation where he is not only shown to be qualified and certified to do the work, but also gets the assignment. Your Honor, we would ask the court to consider a signature bond. If that's not possible, then a 1,000 surety.
It's going to be a $1,000 surety on each count. That's a $2,000 surety. No further contact with Davy Collins. Stay 500 yards away from 451 Mary Street in Atlanta, Georgia. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And his next court date is going to be January 21st. Thank you.
Next, we have position number 7, Mr. Johnson.
Okay. Mr. Antonio Michael Johnson is accused of driving while license suspended or revoked and 2 counts of criminal trespass from 2 separate motel facilities from January 7th, 2025. Mr. Johnson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney will be Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
21. 2023 hit and run. Possession of marijuana. 2018 suspended license conviction. 2018 probation. 2013 counterfeit currency absconding conviction by the feds. 2013 probation and 2012 suspended license NOLO DUI conviction.
Did he have a license suspension in 2009?
I didn't go back that far.
Okay.
I'll look, but I didn't go back.
Okay. Ms. McCarthy?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant is accused of trespassing at those 2 motels, the Red Roof Inn located at 2450 Old National Highway in College Park, and the Baymont Hotel located at 2451 Old National Highway in College Park. After being told not to return to either property, he was also observed driving his vehicle by officers. His license is currently suspended. The state is okay with the signature bond for this defendant. Stay away from the incident location. No driving without the proper documentation. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
McLean, is going to be a surety bond on the driving while license suspended, but I'll grant a signature bond on the trespass. Anything to add?
Well, let me argue, Your Honor, that perhaps he should have a signature bond on everything. He does have a GED, a barber, and operates a car wash business and cuts grass. So he's basically an entrepreneur with he's like a one-man band. He's got 3 businesses going at once. And that's all we have. Thank you, Your Honor. We would ask for a signature bond if that's at all possible.
I got 1, 2, 3, at least 3 prior driving while license suspended convictions, and I don't think Mr. Johnson got the memo on that. I have someone called Honey's iPhone who appeared for this case. Did you want to say something?
Yes. The driving without the
Who are you?
I'm his girlfriend. My name is Shamira Davis.
All right, Ms. Davis, please raise your right hand. Do
Yeah,
you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
yes.
Is Mr. Johnson's license currently valid?
It should have been because it was only suspended for child support, and he supposed to have made a payment, and I think that day or someday this week he was supposed to go and renew his, just all he had to do was reinstate his suspended license. That's why that was the only reason why it had got suspended, and he doesn't currently like on child support. This is just back pay from 10 years ago.
Bad decision to drive car from one hotel to another then.
But I don't know if he had drove it from one to another.
I'm just going by the warrant.
Yes, ma'am. But I assure you that he will not drive on suspended license no more. He did not know that it was suspended because his mail was going to a P.O. box and something happened to the P.O. box. So he literally just found out that his license was suspended.
What happened to
Maybe,
his P.O. box?
huh?
What happened to his P.O. box?
Something had happened to the
What
post
happened?
office.
What happened?
I'm really not for sure what had
And
happened.
don't tell me stories unless you know for sure what happened. Anything
Okay. No, that's all.
else? Okay. On the driving while license suspended or revoked, as I said, it's a surety bond. It's a $1,500 surety bond. No driving unless he has a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration for the vehicle that he operates. All three must be present before he operates any vehicle. On each count of the criminal trespass is going to be $1,500, so that will be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. He is to report to pretrial once a month until further order of the court, and he is to stay 200 yards away from the Red Roof Inn at 2450 Old National Highway and the Baymont Hotel at 2451 Old National Highway. He's not allowed to return to either property and to stay away. If he gets arrested again, or if he fails to report to pretrial, or if he continues to drive on a suspended license, then his signature portion of his bond will be revoked. So currently, he has a $4,500 split bond. Next court date is January 21st. Do we have any other cases in courtroom 2?
Yes, I'm sorry, we have position number 9, Mr. Logan.
Okay. All right, ma'am, you can leave. Thank you. All right. Mr. Justin Logan is accused of theft by shoplifting on January 6, 2025, case 25 CR 152J. Mr. Logan, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Shatay. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Third, 2010 battery cruelty to children. In the second degree, it was not presented to a grand jury. I think jail was the recommendation. Yeah, it was jail. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Mulcahy, I understand this is at a, or is it Miss Allen? Yeah, this is at a Walmart situation. Any objection to a 1,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1? And to
No, Your Honor, we just requested he stay away from the Walmart at 844 Cleveland Avenue.
Okay, any objection, Mr. Shatay?
No objection.
All right. Mr. Logan, your bond is going to be set at $1,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. You will have to maintain a current mailing address with the court. You report to pretrial once a month, and you are to stay away from the Walmart store at 844 Cleveland Avenue. If you return to that location and get arrested again, please remember to bring $1,500 with you. Thank you.
Next, we got position number 10, Mr. Samuel.
Is this Ronaldo Samuels? I'm sorry.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. This is position 10, State versus Ronaldo Samuels, accused of 2 counts of battery family violence, case number 25CR151C. Mr. Samuels, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney will be Mr. Shatai. Any priors?
2019 public disorderly conduct, South Carolina.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. And Miss Allen, I've read the warrant with regards to Khalid Boston. Shall I just go straight to get the victim statement?
No, Your Honor, we would request, I guess, to give a recitation first.
Okay.
The incident location is apartment 1714 at Noble Creek Drive, where the individual in front of you and a victim, Mr. Boston, lived together or were living together. Police were called, and on scene, they saw Mr. Boston holding an ice pack to his face. He was seen to have what is described in the documents as a substantial injury to his face. He had swelling near his eye and a laceration and abrasions on his elbow and on his hand. The defendant was seen outside, and he told police that he just wanted to get his things from the location, and the victim was not allowing him to get in there. The door had been ripped off of its hinges, and the victim was saying, "I just want him to leave," as he tended to his wound. It was reported that there was an argument, and then the assault occurred. I would say, Your Honor, that we've tried multiple times today to get in touch with Mr. Boston. I actually just sent him a chat when I saw that he was here, and he's not responsive. So we're asking for a $4,000 SOB through pretrial, no contact with Mr. Boston, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and to stay away from that location. We'd also like a day of anger management at least. And if you'd sound for Mr. Boston, thank you.
Mr. Boston, if you'd like to contribute to the proceeding, please unmute and start your video.
Oh, he can respond now, though, to tell me absolutely not in response to my request.
That's fine. That's okay. Mr. Boston, my name is Judge Lal. If you'd like to contribute to the proceedings, I'll need to place you under oath. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
And what would you like to tell us?
Yeah. Firstly, my apologies to the courts. I didn't receive a call today. I do work overnight, and I'm at work currently now. So, I mean, I apologize if I missed any of that. In reference to the incident, it was optically an ugly incident. However, I have been in touch with the family. It is something that we would like to deal with privately. So
let me see your whole face. No, bring it closer. Yeah, that doesn't look good. Okay. All right. Anything else, Mr. Boston? And
yeah.
because I'm going to tell you this, this is not a private matter. Once the police got involved, this is now a full-blown public matter, and it's the court's job and the prosecutor's job. So the court's job is to make sure that this case moves forward in accordance with the law, and the prosecutor's job is to decide whether they want to move forward and prosecute Mr. Samuels for this charge. The fact that the family wants to make it a private matter is entirely up to them, but the decision.
Well, that's what I'm requesting.
The decision to prosecute is entirely up to the Fulton County Solicitor General's office. I cannot dismiss the case.
All right. In reference, well, I guess I'm not asking for a dismissal. But what I am asking for is some type of leniency from the courts. Again, it was a situation that got out of control. Absolutely. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Do you rent or do you own the property?
I rent, ma'am.
So was the door damaged?
It is.
So it's some other owner's property that's been damaged, correct?
It is, but it is being repaired.
Understood. But I still have to take that into consideration.
So in reference to consideration, I mean, can we look at a signature bond? I mean, he's not.
That is what the prosecutor has recommended.
Okay.
Anything else?
All right. No.
Okay. Mr. Chatai, anything else you want to add?
Yes, Your Honor. In addition to the victim's recommendation of a signature bond, I'd also like to add that my client is 23 years old. He has completed school up to the 12th grade. He would not object to a no contact or a stay away, and he would not be a flight risk because he would be able to live with his aunt and uncle in Fayetteville, Georgia.
Sounds good. On the battery family violence, it's going to be 2,500 on each count. His total bond is going to be set at 5,000. It is a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. He is to have no further contact with Khalid Boston and to stay 200 yards away from 1714 Noble Creek Drive in Atlanta, Georgia. Mr. Samuels, you're not allowed to return to that property at all. If you have personal belongings, Mr. Boston can turn them over to the family members who know Mr. Samuels, and that's the only way that Mr. Samuels can retrieve his belongings. But otherwise, there's to be no communication, and you have to stay 200 yards away from Mr. Boston and not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. Your next court date will be sent to your Fayetteville address, so make sure that within 30 days of being released, you are to come back to the clerk's office and update the court with your current mailing address in Fayetteville. Within 30 days of being released, you are also to enroll and complete a domestic violence intervention program. And this is going to be a 26-week program where you will need to attend each of the classes without missing or skipping any of the classes, and then present your certificate of completion to your pretrial officer. Your next court date will be sent to your Fayetteville. Please don't forget to show up in court. Thank you.
Judge Law, this is Ms. Franklin Redden. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. There you are.
Can you please have Mr. Boston check the chat? I sent him a message in a direct message in the chat.
Mr. Boston, did you see the message from Ms. Franklin Redden?
Yes, I'm replying now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Go ahead and mute your screen too, Mr. Boston. Thank you. All right. I have 2 more cases on my calendar. Courtroom 2, who do we have next?
We have position number 12, Mr. Sparks.
Oh, 3 more cases. Okay. This is Mr. Lewis Sparks, accused of a violation of the law regarding squatters, 16-7-21.1. Case number is 25 CR 000147E. Offense date appears to be December 20th, 2024. Now, Ms. Franklin Redden, did you get that phone number that was sent to everyone? Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Sparks, you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you presently is going to be Mr. Michael McLean. Any priors?
Well, no squatting or history. 2024. He got an open case, ag assault, crude to the 3rd, criminal damage to property, 2nd degree, obstruction, simple assault. It's 24 PI 002815. Open theft by conversion, 22 SC 182232, 2018 FTA.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from December the 20th. There was actually a hearing in magistrate court in front of
Judge Ashley.
Judge Ashley on the 7th. He found probable cause for a count of squatting. The owner of the location at 5558 Union Point Place in Union City had to do a private action for a warrant because the defendant refused to leave the premises. He's filed in a bunch of sovereign citizen, UCC, gobbledygook, and has an AKA. The victim in this case is Mr. Douglas Walls, the owner. Judge Ashley issued a $10,000 good bond after hearing on this matter. I would note that the open 24 PI case mentioned by pretrial is from April of 2024. The defendant in front of you was released on bond following his arrest in that case. And as part of that bond, he's been ordered to stay away from the location. That's the location where his wife and his 5 children live. And the case in Superior Court is an aggravated assault against her in front of those children. So not only is he fighting to stay at the property, even though he has no legal right to possess or be on the property, and the owner of that property had to go through the court system to get him out, the court has already ordered him to stay away from that location because of the open felony aggravated assault. We're asking to keep that $10,000 good bond that Judge Ashley put in place. I'm guessing it was for a reason. It might be part of the 60 pages of things that have been filed into this case and the gobbledygook, and someone who just frankly refuses to acknowledge that they've been ordered to stay away. We will continue to try to be in contact with the victim in that 24 PI case, Your Honor, Mrs. Duncan, and I've already alerted the DA's office that this gentleman is now back in jail for a violation of the bond in that case. And so that's where we are. We'd ask for no contact with the gentleman who owns the location, Douglas Walls, or anyone else who's living there, to stay away from 5558 Union Point Place in Union City. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client, Mr. Sparks, is a high school graduate. He has been working in the ministry for a year and a moving company for 8 years prior to that. Based on the charges, he's also been in Georgia quite some time, over 11 years. He's 42. Your Honor, based on the charges, we understand what the state has been concerned about and is concerned about. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond, and if not a signature bond, then something like a $1,000 or $2,000 surety.
It's going to be a $5,000 surety bond. I'm not sure whether he's got a bond surrender in his 24 PI case 002815. I just see some notes about that, but y'all can look into it.
I didn't see that he had a bond surrender. It's just real clear he can't go back to that location as a condition of his bond. It's a $20,000 good bond, I believe.
Okay. But meanwhile, it is a $5,000 surety bond for this particular case to stay 500 yards away from 5558 Union Point Place in Union City, 30291, to have no further contact with Douglas Walls, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. And his next court date will be January 21st.
$5,000 bond.
Next, we have position number. Hold on. Uh-oh. I'm sorry, Your Honor. We have 2 more left, but they, I guess they're add-ons, and we didn't receive an add-on calendar.
Okay. What is the name of the gentleman right now in the chair?
Mr. Stone.
Okay. I have Shani Kaufman and a Nicholas Shedrick.
Nicholas Shedrick, he waived.
He waived, okay.
Yes, and the other person, I believe, is at ACP.
No, she bonded out.
Oh, she bonded out? Okay.
Okay, Shani Kaufman is released. Okay.
Okay. And the other one, waived, Chadwick.
All right. And Mr. McLean, let's see now. Looks like we've got an add-on for 2 cases.
Who's the add-on?
We'll find out.
Stone and Turner, last name Stone, last name Turner.
I think they were NOD. I thought. Hold on.
I've got Stone.
They both were NOD.
Hold on.
See.
Maybe not. I thought. Yeah, Turner was NOD.
Yes, both of those cases have been dismissed, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. So unless they have any other cases holding them, Mr. Stone and Mr. Turner may be released.
All right.
Okay. Who has Mr. Nicholas Shedrick? Mr. Chitai? Okay. Mr. Chitai, have you filed a waiver of appearance with Ms. Holly Bridgewater,
I have it, Your Honor.
you have it? Okay.
Your Honor, I apologize. I mistakenly spoke. It's Altariq Walker that was NOD'd, not Jerome Stone. Jerome Stone has been transferred to the DA's office. It's a felony. He's got a prior battery family violence conviction.
Oh, has it been transferred or is this something I have to sign off on?
No, it has been. I can give you the PI number if you'd like.
Okay. Deputy for Mr. Stone, if he wants to come back to the chair, we can give him his new case number. Maybe he's already left. Okay, there we go. All right, go ahead, Miss Allen.
Working on it. 25 PI 000212. That battery family violence that he came in with from the 7th of January is the second. He's got a conviction out of Clayton County, 2018 CR 02340. The DA's office has taken that case. It's a felony based on his criminal history, Your Honor.
Mr. Stone, you have been booked in on a felony charge of battery family violence. Your case number is 25 PI 000212. If this hasn't taken place yet, you will then be seen by the magistrate court judge at a felony first appearance to determine the status of your case and your bond. Thank you. So,
Thank you. I apologize.
No problem. With regards to Nicholas Shedrick, this is 25 CR 1508. Mr. Shedrick has been accused of 2 counts of simple battery against a police officer, police dog, or corrections officer from January 6, 2025. Mr. Machadai is representing Mr. Shedrick, who has waived his appearance. I have at least 3 open cases with regards to Mr. Shedrick right now.
He's been in custody since September.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the 3 other open cases, Mr. Shatai?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll put that in the chat against you. But Miss Allen, what's the bond recommendation?
We're asking for a $4,000 surety, Your Honor. The defendant is disruptive in the jail, was upset and told deputies there that they were disrespecting him, threw water in one deputy's face and spit in the face of another.
And what are you recommending in terms of bond?
I said $4,000 surety.
Oh, 4,000, excuse me. Sorry, I was typing and listening at the same time. Clearly, sometimes that doesn't work. Okay. Mr. Shatai, I am chatting with you the 3 open cases that he presently has. Do you have a response to the bond recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor, just that it'd be reduced to the lowest available bond, given that he does not present a flight risk since he's already in Fulton County Jail. So if he were released, he would be staying there.
Okay. It's going to be $500 on each count. That's $1,000 surety. No further violent contact with any of the staff members at the Fulton County Jail. Next court date is January 21st. All right. Okay, just to go over the calendar. Position number 1, Benjamin, was a $4,000 surety bond. Reset date is January 21st. Position 2, Justin Black, is a $7,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 2. Position 3, Butcher, that's going to be an $8,000 split bond. Reset date January 21st. Castleberry is a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial with 2 anger awareness classes to be done. 5 Cruz is a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial. Position 6, Davis, is a $2,000 surety bond, reset January 21st. Position 7, Johnson, is a $3,000 surety, reset date is January. Did I do that for 3,000?
I thought it was 45.
No, yeah, 3,000 surety, I think was one.
Is what?
No, let me correct myself. Position 7, Johnson, is a $4,500 split bond.
There you go.
Reset date is January 21st. Position 8, Shaney Caveman has been released, and that case is going to be further noticed. Position 9, Logan is a 1,500 signature bond to pretrial, level 1. Position 10, Samuels is a 2,500, a $5,000 signature bond to pretrial, level 1 with a DBIP requirement. 11, Shedrick is a $1,000 surety, reset January 21st. 12, Sparks is a $5,000 surety, reset January 21st. 13, Wilson is a 3,500 surety, reset date January 21st. All right. Okay, folks. Watch the weather, please. Everyone be safe. Take care.
You're gonna jinx it just by talking about it.
Everyone's talking about it every moment, every hour. Okay.
My 12-year-old is like, do they cancel school because it's too cold?
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the hopeful thought.
They actually do.
Good.
Here.
Wow. Okay.
Thank
Well,
you, everyone.
Take care.